In today's town board meeting, my colleagues and I would like to recognize the New York State League of Women Voters, who 1 week from today will be celebrating its 100th anniversary. Representing the League today to accept a citation and proclamation from the town of Hempstead are Barbara Epstein, Ruth Jones, Paula Bloom, Pat Meadows, Liz Boylan, and our own League of Women Voters member, Senior Councilwoman Dorothy Gooseby. Pioneered during the women's suffrage movement, the League has established itself as a leading advocate for voting rights for all Americans. By remaining nonpartisan, the League is able to extend its reach of informing and educating the public on the critical issues that are affecting their communities. On behalf of the town of Hempstead, congratulations on achieving this historic milestone. We are grateful for your service to our community and to our state. Thank you very much, ladies.
All right, good morning everyone. Welcome to this regularly scheduled town board meeting. For those of you who have never attended a meeting before, we will first have public hearings followed by an administrative calendar. There are meeting agendas available in the rear of the pavilion. If you'd like to be heard on any matter, please fill out a slip and hand it to the public safety officer, and they will call you up to be heard during the meeting. After the town board meeting is adjourned, the town board will follow our custom and remain in session to hear any residents who'd like to be heard during public comment. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Supervisor Gillen?
Here.
Councilman Bleakman?
Here.
Councilman Diaz-Casino?
I'm here.
Councilman Dunn?
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Here. Councilman Musgrove?
Here.
Okay, we just celebrated Veterans Day. We have our own veteran here on the town board, so I'd ask Councilman Dunn to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Rise, face the American flag, place your right hand over your heart, and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please call our first public hearing?
Proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Belmore near Island Park and Oceanside.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Councilman Moscarella?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, will you please call our next public hearing?
Proposed local law regarding parking or standing prohibitions in Elmont, Franklin Square, Merrick, Oceanside, and near Rockville Center.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and that the local law be adopted.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Councilman Moscarella?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, will you call our next public hearing, please?
Proposed local law regarding arterial stops in Belmore, East Meadow, and Seaford.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the item be adopted.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Councilman Moscarella?
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call our next public hearing.
Proposed local law entitled Intentional Release of Balloons Prohibited in order to reduce the negative impact that balloons have on the environment by discouraging the intentional release of balloons.
Okay, I have a number of slips on this public hearing. The first is from George Coral or Coral. George, am I saying that right? George?
Good morning, town board members and supervisor. Thank you for having this hearing today. Just wanted to let you know that our group, All Our Energy, has spoken to numerous members of the public in the past few months. I have with me approximately 745 petition signatures to support some kind of action on intentional balloon releases. There's no reason for it. I can give you those. I want to show you, we've been working with the town to do beach cleanups. And it's just something that we do as a volunteer, something that we do to help the environment. We cleaned Lido Beach West on October 6th, and here's just the balloons that we got from that day. So that was just from one beach in one day that about 45 people cleaned up. It did not include us going into the dunes, which are a huge filter. That's for the town workers to do, and the dunes are off limits. So there's much more in there that they were probably responsible for taking care of. And we don't trample on the town law to not go into the dunes. So this is something that does have some widespread support. We're not a big group. We're mostly all volunteers. This is just an issue that I really think you could make a huge difference to protect the beaches that we have. That's part of one of the beautiful things that this town has to offer for all of our community and our residents. So this is also a photograph just to show you what can happen. This is from not from one of our beaches, but this is a term being rescued by Fire Island officers that had gotten entangled in some of the balloon strings there in that one instance. So this is obviously not just a town of Hempstead issue, and we are pushing for other municipalities to consider this, but town of Hempstead really could be right out in front of this issue, just like Long Beach has and East Hampton has. because you really have a lot of beaches and a lot of waterfront that is yours to protect. So we're asking you to please consider taking up this motion and passing it today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Supervisor, if I may, I'd like to offer an amendment to the proposed local law, just prior to anyone else speaking, so they could speak on the amendments. And with that said, I want to thank you, sir, for your cleanups in the town of Hempstead and across Long Island. And I think that the issue with the balloons is something that needs to be tackled. But I do think that it's a work in progress. So I'd like to move to amend the proposed local law from no person to no person 18 or older, and to amend the penalty section to eliminate jail time and reduce the fine from 500 to 100. And like I said, this is just an amendment to this. If it's something that we see is working or not working, we can move forward and make changes in the future.
And
Second
Councilman,
motion.
I just wanted to add, this is to address the concern that a child might run afoul of the law. Is that right, Councilman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll take a vote now on the amendment. Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen,
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman,
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Bazito,
Aye.
Councilman Dunn,
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby, Councilman Moscarella.
Abstain.
Okay, we have a slip also from Matt Gore, or Go.
All right, good morning. Thanks for talking about this topic today.
I'm sorry, if you would just state your name and where you live for the record, please.
My name is Matt Gove, G-O-V-E, and I live in Brooklyn, so thanks for having me. I'm from the Surfrider Foundation. We have a bunch of people in the area, a lot of people out on Long Beach, in the town of Hempstead that love the beach, and like George, they do a lot of beach cleanups, and they find a lot of balloons, so they've been asking us to help them pass some laws to slow down all this balloon pollution. And it's an important topic. You might not have seen one of these balloon releases, but they're apparently pretty common if you just Google balloon release. A lot of times at funerals, at memorial services, they'll release 100 balloons. So it's something that does happen, and I think it's mostly just people don't know. They're like, oh, this isn't littering. This is nice. It's a nice event. We're going to let the balloon go, but I don't think they know that what comes up comes down, and does end up putting litter on our beaches, and animals actually eat them thinking they're jellyfish or something else, and then they can choke. There's also the issue of mylar balloons. I don't know if you've ever heard of mylar balloons. They're the shiny ones, and they can cause power outages. Basically, utility people are worried about squirrels and mylar balloons because they're conductive. If they hit, they can cause a power outage. What else? Yeah, I see the amendment you made. I mean, we're definitely not talking about arresting kids. That's a kid that lets one go. That's not the. It's these organized events when people do it on purpose. We also just started doing some petitions. We have about 350 people that signed our petition just at a couple of public events, so we've got some folks on board. And we're part of, with George and his group, All Our Energy. There's about 12 groups in total that signed a letter that was sent in earlier this year asking for this to happen. So thanks for thinking about it, and I hope we can pass it.
Thank you, sir. And if you and Mr. Kovac do have copies of those petitions, it would be helpful if you could just hand them up and make them part of the record.
A way to do that
You
now.
can hand them right to Ms. Hanson right here, or if you don't have them with you today, you can submit them after the fact to the clerk's office. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Can I just ask the clerk to get copies of those for all the council members? Thank you.
Next we have Liz Mosen.
Ms. Mosman, and I just wanted to add, I'm a member of All Our Energy, so I help in the cleanups, and I have some photos here too to submit that I took a walk later in October, and again, there's evidence of these balloons, you know, still on the beach after the summer. And I think the amendment makes sense with children. I'm a former teacher, and I think perhaps too we can work with the schools to start to, you know, make children and, you know, to do science programs, you know, environmental programs more aware of, you know, how balloons can impact our environment, and come up with maybe more creative ways of celebrating, you know, events without using balloons. So, you know, start working, you know, with the school districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mosen. Karen Silver?
Hello, my name is Karen Silver. I'm from Kings Park, and I'm also a volunteer for High Energy. I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm here today to speak in support of the proposed new law to prohibit the intentional release of balloons. Although we all know that balloons can be fun to use in celebration, we now also know that the release of balloons can be dangerous for our wildlife, killing birds and marine animals. Balloons are bright and colorful, and animals are attracted to them, thinking they're food. They can try to consume them or accidentally become tangled up in strings, either of which can cause injury or death. They also travel farther than we think, polluted our streets and our beaches and polluted our waterways. Moreover, at any given release, thousands of balloons can be sent up to the sky. As one example, the Clemson Tigers of South Carolina, college football champions in 2016, last year discontinued their practice of releasing 10,000 orange balloons every game due to the pressure from the College's Sustainability Commission. Although we know that these laws may be hard to enforce, we also know that by enacting these laws, we send a message to organizations, corporations, and individuals that intentional balloon releases should be avoided when planning an event. Currently, we depend upon the good intentions of people, and unfortunately, there are those who do not find these issues important. However, with the injection of media and public sharing of every event through Facebook and other mechanisms, the odds are that enforcement will become easier. Nowadays, all public behavior tends to be recorded and disseminated widely by individuals taking videos or pictures with their phones. So this may perhaps make event planners more unwilling to put their intransigence on public display. You also would not be the first municipality to make such a law. California, Connecticut, Florida, Tennessee, and Virginia all have enacted laws against intentional balloon releases, and other states have introduced bills limiting the number of balloons allowed to be released. There are also laws in municipalities in the UK and Australia banning balloon releases. I urge you to pass this law, and in so doing, join other states and municipalities to work for a cleaner, safer, and better environment for all.
Thank you, ma'am. Joanne Moore?
Hi, I'm Julianne Moore. I'm also a member of All Our Energy. And as you know, we're a nonprofit 501c3 organization based in Point Lookout. So we're an environmental advocacy organization with a focus on education and public outreach. We are asking you to support a ban on intentional balloon releases similar to the law passed in Suffolk County and Long Beach. I want to say this is not a partisan issue, just as animal cruelty is not a partisan issue. Our wildlife suffers from being caught in the ribbons of the balloons, as you could see, and sea mammals will ingest the balloons, mistaking them for jellyfish and other edible resources, which can result in intestinal blockages, malnutrition, and possibly a painful death. Our oceans and beaches, streets, parks, and streams are being polluted by these balloons, which will never, ever decompose. Also, a ban on intentional balloon releases will save the town of Hempstead money. These balloons will all eventually end up in the environment. Many will get stuck in sewer drains, clogging them, and thereby increasing the chance of flooding after a storm. So not only is taxpayer money going towards cleaning the storm drains, but citizens need to contend with all the problems that occur when our streets are flooded. And I want to just say that laws and regulations are not a bad thing. If a town does not pass a law, such as the banning of intentional balloon releases, I, as an average citizen, will continue to believe that it can't be all that bad because the town of Hempstead says it's okay to do this. That's what I would think, because there's no law in place saying it's not okay. So please let everyone know that it's not okay by passing a ban. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Joseph Barron?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph Verone, and I am a resident of West Hempstead, right here. I am also the past president of the New York State Marine Educators Association. I'm sorry.
Don't forget the groceries.
And I am a current volunteer for the Long Island chapter of Food and Water Action, and I'm a retired New York State educator for 36 years. I am here representing some very special Long Island constituents, our sea turtles, dolphins, seals, whales, seagulls and terns, and a variety of other seabirds. Unfortunately, because of transportation issues, they could not be here today to testify. Too often, the intentional release of balloons has a devastating and deadly impact on those creatures. Mistaking these deflated balloons as floating jellyfish and other natural delights, these creatures eat them. Tragically, they get impacted in their digestive systems where they cannot excrete them, causing them to die very painful deaths. Such intentional balloon releases are not necessary for groups to have a wonderful event, but they leave a trail of death behind and should be eliminated. We are not really talking here about a child who releases a balloon. We're talking about colleges and football teams and high school teams and massive events where they intentionally release a large amount of balloons. And that's what we're asking that the town of Hempstead prohibit. And we ask you to do this. We have a responsibility for our citizens, but we also have a responsibility for the beautiful creatures that live around our island. And we ask you to take this bill seriously, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I do not have any other slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard? Yes.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. Just a special thank you to all our energy. I am, as everyone knows, a huge fan of advocates. And if not for them, we probably wouldn't be here talking about this today. And if not for that photograph of the supervisor, which, talk about a negative that turned into a positive, I am glad that hopefully the board will pass this, get it done, protect our sea life. No negative reflection on Camp Anchor. I think they do the most amazing work. And I think they were misguided into believing that balloons are actually biodegradable. And once again, congratulations advocates, because if not for them, these things really would not get accomplished as they haven't in the past. And I thank them for that. Have a great day, and I encourage you to pass this, even as amended. It's progress, and that's what we need in Hempstead, especially for the sea life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. Is there anybody else?
Very sorry. To take it a step further, I had a thought. I know that there are rules posted in, the beach areas. Is it possible, providing this passes, to include that on these signs at our beaches about the law prohibiting the intentional release?
That's something you can do.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard on this public hearing?
Rita J. Meredith, Goldman resident, and I'm also a member of Long Island Clean Air Water. I support this legislation and as amended, and I'm hopeful that the information will be disseminated, as was mentioned earlier, not in a partisan format, but for a community benefit. And I'm also just concerned with regard to how we can possibly, I guess as the previous speaker, if we can turn this situation into something that can be possible, because I mean, we have communities and we have constituencies that need something in some format in which they can celebrate. We need to have something. So I am hoping that through this, we can use this as an opportunity to provide some, let's say, healthy and constructive alternatives to provide celebrations for moments that we need to celebrate, or the moments that we need to provide recognition for memorials or other services that this balloon demonstration had been used for. So I'm definitely in support of this. Just again concerned with regard to the other pending issues in our community in terms of the contamination of our water systems, that particularly this season with the need for leaf cleanings and things of that nature, that we look at this from a constructive and comprehensive format. There are a number of things that are contaminating our waterways. There are a number of things that are jeopardizing not only our sea life, but our residents as well. So if we can look at, again, making this a broad stroke and to make it comprehensive and to, as we said, expand and provide alternatives for celebrations, recognitions, and memorials, because sometimes, and particularly right now, everyone needs to have some kind of hope, and we need something to hold on to, and we need to have something to mark significant moments, whether it's a celebration or just a remembrance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meredith. Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard on this public hearing? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the local law adopted as amended.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman?
Yes, I would just like to say that there has been a renaissance in my district of wildlife returning in the Atlantic beaches, throughout the 5 towns in Valley Stream, Franklin Square, the streams that run through it. And I vote with the whales, the seals, and the dolphins. I vote aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Thank you, Councilman Esposito, for your amendments. That makes it very easy to vote aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilman Moscarella?
I abstain.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you call our next public hearing, please?
Proposed contract for furnishing fire protection services in the Rec Lead Fire Protection District, Incorporated Village of Island Park.
I do not have any slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to be heard? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the item adopted.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Blake?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilman Moscarella?
Aye. Just for full disclosure, I recuse myself from that vote because I am a member of the Island Park Fire Department.
All right, Madam Clerk, will you call the next public hearing, please?
Application of 135F Realty Corp. to modify an existing GSS approval, TBR 420-1989, and modify TBR 200-2017 to perform interior and exterior alteration to convert the existing automobile repair to a convenience store and operate self-service all the described premises at or near corner of Belmore Avenue and Newbridge Road in North Belmont.
Good morning, Supervisor Gillen, Senior Councilwoman Guzzi, honorable members of the town board. My name is Kevin O'Brien from O'Brien Law PC. Here representing the applicant, 135 F Realty, with respect to this application. I also have here with me this morning Mr. Chris Tartaglia, a licensed professional engineer with High Point Engineering. He's one of the principals, and they're the design professionals which have the board, which have prepared all the applications, the information, and the documents that are before the board. And just before I get going, I do want to congratulate the board over here, being that my daughter and I are surfers on Long Island Surf South Shore, and part of the reason that we all live here is for our beaches. So I commend you on your actions this morning. Thank you on a personal basis and for my daughter as well. Now with respect to the application, I'm probably going to jinx myself here a little bit in the sense that I'm going to say this is a relatively simple one because we're dealing with an existing gasoline service station. As you can see on the overhead, and just a mini history of this, it's operated as gasoline service station for over 60 years. Previously, we were included in the GSS zoning district, which, as the board is aware, is the proper zoning district for gasoline service stations within the town of Hempstead. And not too long ago, in connection with some of the, what used to be the Nassau County Fire Marshal regulations, now the Department of Health regulations, we had removed and replaced the existing gasoline storage tanks and put new gasoline storage tanks in there, put a little island reconfiguration. We currently have 3 pump islands with a canopy over the pump island, which I believe is parallel to Newbridge and parallel to Belmore. We have another single pump island over there with a canopy over that pump island. Why we're before the board, and we actually made some improvements to the building itself, and I might be a little bit biased, but if you go over there, I think the place looks fantastic. And we do a fantastic job on the landscaping, the building itself. It looks really good, and we're proud of it. So we're here today, for really a minor modification, in as much as we were unable to secure any repair-oriented tenants in the building. So we have done the fascia of the building for the most part, but what we're looking to do is to essentially close the service bays of the building, turn the rest of the building into a convenience store. I guess we could probably maybe shift one of the overheads. And actually, I do have for the board, if you would like, some hand-ups at 11.5 by 17s, but that makes it more convenient. But we do have the overhead. And in the overhead, the dark yellow is the actual building itself, sort of the beige portions of it are the pump islands that I just recently referred to, and the canopies over them. The white area is the underground storage tanks that have been recently replaced. And perhaps if you go to the next slide, we might have, let me see, well, okay, that's the elevation of the building. And it almost looks like that now, because if you look to the right, okay, that portion of it has been done. But on the left-hand side, if you go to the site, currently you'll see 3 service bays. So what we're essentially looking to do is to convert it, I believe if my recollection is correct, but Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, I think it's like 1,700 and change is the 17, what's that? 1716 is the square footage of the building itself. And the building itself, similar to our other operations, would contain the office area. It would have the restroom as well as the convenience store area itself. Other than that, I know I did see there was a memo when it talked about, quote unquote, some open violations. And really, the open violations really just deal with the open building permits that we have, okay, as part of the work that we had just done. And now what we're trying to do is close all that sort of work out. We are mindful of our veterans, so we are intending to put an American flag. What we're looking to do, so it's not to be, sir, I think Chris, if my recollection is correct, we're trying to put on the north side of the site. Is that correct?
Yes, within the landscape area along the northerly quadrant of the site.
And the other thing I would just mention, if you go to the site, I think the landscaping we've done is fantastic, but then again, that can be personal and subjective. I know we have some, I think what they refer to as elephant ears, which we think adds some sort of depth and character to the, and we changed the landscaping out seasonally, but we are always open to suggestions in that area. And other than that, I think unless there are any questions of the board or questions of my professional engineer over here, I think that's pretty much what we're thinking. We think it's reasonable, necessary, and we're looking for your favorable discussion.
I have a question at first, so the pictures.
Yeah.
Thank you for this, because that answered the question. You know, these tractor trailers getting taller and taller.
Right.
I was just wondering if it would fit underneath your, and the overhang, and it definitely does. The pictures tell us that.
Yeah, it's usually, I think there's usually a minimum of 14 and a half feet clearance, which I think might even be a national thing. Chris, you could correct me if I'm wrong here. Yeah, or 14, so that this way, you know, for international trucking, even just the delivery truck, you know, would be able to make it under that.
Ambulances are getting taller, fire trucks are getting bigger, so it's good, yeah. Thank you.
If there's nothing further, I would just ask for the board's favorable discussion.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor.
I do not have any other slips on this public hearing. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard?
Yes, please.
Okay. Just give them a minute to clear out.
Will the convenience store be open 24 hours?
First of all, could you just state your name and address for us?
Sorry, Roy Gordon, Hop Up, New York.
Okay, gentlemen, maybe if you could come back and just answer questions, you don't want to just sit right next to them.
Yes, it would be open 24 hours.
7 days a week?
7 days a week, yes.
Okay, that's the only question I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard on this public hearing?
Meedy J. Mariday. Again, with all due respect, and since we are coming one day after Veterans Day, which is always that monumental occasion for us to recognize and salute our veterans, those that made it home and those that didn't. For me, it's the next day, and the plight of the veterans that are still underserved continues to reign very true for me. So while the gesture with regard to the flag is definitely appreciated, I would be asking more so along the lines of your contracting and your job development aspects. Not only that, would there be accommodations possibly for service-disabled veterans in terms of handicap parking, maybe a special section in the facility for the area residents and area veterans to kind of come together. I mean, again, we need to kind of get more than the flags and the parades, because again, particularly out here, since we have the largest veteran population concentration of Nassau and Suffolk counties in New York State and Northeast region, we have to talk a little more than just, okay, we're going to have a flag, because they're dying like flies on a daily basis. So that would be my request in terms of some kind of output that focuses on creating some jobs, a supportive environment, and something that's going to be beneficial and long-term for those who can provide services with regard to the various activities with regard to your project. So if you could speak to that, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly. I'm glad you raised that. On one hand, obviously, it's probably more of a social issue, probably more of a governmental issue, but in having a company and a principal of that company, probably I can't think of anybody more so. I know his son-in-law was a flight instructor at Miramar. He was in the Iraqi War, day one. I remember the celebration that they had. And it was incredible to see these people come back, from that conflict. And if anybody could do something, it would be him. So I don't know exactly what we could do, but certainly we'll try. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I just want to go on record saying that when we asked that to display the flag, I was at a Marine Corps birthday party Saturday night with, it was a party. It wasn't a formal Marine Corps ball, it was a party with over 60 Marines, and then the language, we could never even think of what it was, the kind of language we used. It was all drill instructor kind of language. But they appreciate seeing the American flag on all new buildings going up. So I'm not going to belittle it. I'm not going to in any way, shape, or form play it down. It is important to a lot of men and women that come home, and women that come home saying thank you. So you know what? It might be little, but it's
I never said it was, with all due respect, I never said it was little. I said we need to extend beyond that. I would never say that having a flag in recognition of our veterans is little.
just so you know, we're not going to eliminate us from asking for that. Thank you.
I never said that. And for the record, I've been the one that travels through the county and the town, and particularly Nassau County, and made sure that they replace the damaged flags that fly over government facilities. So I don't even want it known or intimated that I would say anything that would jeopardize recognizing our veterans. I'm focusing on the ones who are losing their homes and living out on the street as we speak. That's my purpose. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard on this public hearing?
My name is Jay Blackman from East Meadow, and in listening to what you were describing, it sounded really very useful and very beautiful. Because of the emergence of the electric cars, I was just wondering if there was any accommodation for electric charging stations?
Not at this time. Interesting, concept, but not at this time at this particular location. I know you see it at some public buildings, you see it at hotels. We'd have to see, but like I said, it's not part of these plans at this time.
Well, it's a personal thing because I just bought an electric.
I know
place to charge.
I know my brother's got one also, and when he goes on a trip somewhere, he has to plot out as to how far it can go, and then they've got some of these that can do it rapidly, and then there are the other ones that do it on a longer period of time. And then there are proprietary ones for Tesla, and then there are the general ones for everyone else. But it is moving in that direction. A lot of the hotels, you certainly see that.
I'm thinking in terms of the environment, is more than anything else, that we are turning more and more towards electric, and hydrogen fuel cars will be on the horizon. They're already in California, so it might be something. Well, come in the future.
We'll look into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody else who'd like to be heard in this public hearing? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing, and instead of reserving a decision, I'd like to adopt this because you answered all the questions that we did have. So I make a motion to adopt this item.
Yeah, second motion.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye.
Councilman Blake?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Casino?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Councilman Musgrove?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Bye, gentlemen. All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the administrative calendar?
Yes, there are items number 7 through 54 on the administrative calendar. I also have 2 hand-up resolutions that are of an emergent nature. The first one is a resolution awarding purchase contract number 107-2019 for the yearly requirements for the transfer and/or acceptance of mattresses collected by the town of Hempstead. This will be resolution number 55 on the calendar. The second resolution is resolution amending resolution number 1640-2017, which authorized an agreement with the Xerox Corporation for the maintenance of the two HLC 128 printers for use in the Department of Information and Technology. This will be item number 56 on the calendar.
Okay, would any of the council members like to sever or amend any of the items on the administrative calendar?
Yes, I'd like to adjourn without date 16, 36, and 49, and I'd like to adjourn number 17 to our next meeting, December 10th.
16. Say it again.
Can you repeat that, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd also like to amend item 32, so the points of contact reads Commissioner Rockham and the supervisor's designee. And 33, to remove January 2nd, 2020 as a meeting date and to table items. I did those.
You can't write that
Could you
fast.
just repeat everything because it's hard to...
Sure. So I move to postpone 17 to December 10th. Amend item 32, so the points of contact reads Commissioner Rockham and the supervisor's designee. And to amend item 33 to remove January 2nd, 2020 as a meeting date and table items 36, 49, and 16.
Just a point of inquiry to our council. The motion to adjourn, does that need to be separate from the motion to amend?
Well, he made it as one motion. You cannot entertain it the way he did. For clarity purposes, if you want to broke it up, I'm sure council.
Well, I think people would be entitled to speak on the amendment, but they're not on the postponement, correct?
That's true.
So
should we do two separate motions here, Mr. Lau, or then cleaner?
He made it as one motion.
Okay, second.
Okay.
So there's no public comment.
I'm sorry, Councilman. I have 16, you're moving to adjourn 16 without a date. 17, you're moving to adjourn to December 10.
36, 49.
36 is without a date, or 36 is to a different day?
36, 49, 16 without date. And 33 to remove January 2nd, 2020 as a meeting date, which I believe is the resolution.
I'm sorry. 40, 49, what else?
49, 16.
Oh, thank you. Just a moment.
Rich, can you give the list up?
Just hand it out. Full scripted.
I just need to know what I'm voting on. Okay, so item 16 is about a contract with TEIs. Item 17 is establishing a list of designated newspapers, and that's moving over to the 10. Item 32 relates to, you're just amending that. Is that correct, Councilman? You're just amending item 32 to designate certain people?
Correct.
Okay.
No, 32.
32, yes. 33 is the, 33 you're amending it, you're removing the January 2nd meeting?
Yes.
And 36 is establishing a panel of engineering and planning firms. Commissioner, will that cause you any hardship if we adjourn that? Commissioner Garrett? It's item number 36.
Mr. Regina,
Will this cause
you
any?
confirm with the departments?
Number 36, establishing a panel of engineering and planning firms pursuant to the town's procurement policy. I just want to make sure that we will not be jeopardizing anything going forward. The commissioner is not here?
Not to my knowledge, Supervisor.
Oh, yes, 2-minute meeting, either one, if you can just come forward.
Don't get comfortable, it's a short question.
Yeah, no, it will have no disruption at all to my office.
Thank you, that's all I'm going to
Thank
do.
you.
And 49. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and now we have to vote on all these changes. Is that correct? Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Gillen?
Okay, I think I'm okay with everything except, I don't agree with item number 49. And I abstain on item number 16 because I'm unaware if we owe that contractor any money, and if we do, we have to pay them.
Councilman Blakeman?
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Guzzi?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella?
Aye.
Now, can I have a motion to adopt the administrative calendar as amended?
I move that we adopt the administrative calendar along with the changes, the administrations, and the amendments.
Second.
Okay, I have some slips on the administrative calendar. First is Diane Madden.
Postponed it to the next meeting. January. You got to speak on the January. I was going to speak on it. I was going to wait for the next meeting, but I'm going to speak on it.
Diane Madden, Hempstead. I believe I put a slip in for 40. Is that right? Thank you. So this goes back to, for me anyway, and about 5 other advocates, to some concerns we had back in 2017 for this contract. And I know that recently, I believe the supervisor had tabled the payment for this.
Yes, at a board meeting in September, we tabled this resolution about settling this case.
So what changed?
It's pending litigation, Ms. Madden, we can't comment.
Procedurally, Mr. Law, actually, can this even be on the agenda if we have not yet had a vote to untable it? I think it was tabled without a date. I think this, as a matter of procedure, I think this was tabled without a date, so can it even be on properly on the agenda if we did not vote to untable it, or do we need to vote to untable it?
Well, it was brought back by 2 council people, it was placed back on. Other than that, I'm not going to comment.
But procedurally, is it proper for it to be on the agenda if there was not a vote to untable it according to the rules?
I believe so.
I don't know if I agree with that. I just want to make sure it's done procedurally correct. Maybe we should, do you want to take a look at the rules?
I'm comfortable with my answer.
Okay.
So was there any fund, I've been approached about this because we were very upset about this in 2017. What do they say, when there's smoke, there's fire? And was there any fundraising involved for a political party with this law firm?
There's pending litigation concerning this matter. I'm not going to comment.
This was an $85,000 settlement. Is it correct that taxpayers are billed at least over $500,000 to settle this case?
I don't have that information available.
Is this the law firm that you hired to defend Stanley Lombardo's $15,000 settlement to keep from feeding cats on a landfill?
Off the top of my head, I'd probably say yes, it was, but I'm not sure because I don't have either file in front of me right now.
Camp Banker? I'm told that there was billing from this law firm before they were even approved on that resolution. I'm just trying to find out what the truth is. Because everything in the future with the new incoming supervisor hinges on what this board does and who advises them.
The counsel for this was Anthony Bisigle, right? Angelo Bisigle was the counsel for the town on this litigation. I don't know, was he the counsel for the Camp Banker as well? Yes, it appears he's the counsel for the Camp Banker litigation as well. And what other litigation did you ask about, Ms. Madden?
Stanley Lombardo.
I don't know about Stan, I'm not sure about that one.
Okay, so I've been told that this law firm was not even legally able to practice in New York when this resolution passed. Is that the truth? Is that the case?
Not to my knowledge.
There are so many lawsuits that have not been settled, including the lawsuits against the animal shelter and the director there and Santino, and yet this one's settled. It just, there's something that doesn't make sense to me here. Why now?
I can't answer that question, Ms. Madden. I have to be careful because there is pending litigation, but there was a motion for sanctions because there was no settlement in this litigation, because we postponed the settlement, because I became aware of information that made me think it was not the best use of the taxpayers' money to settle this litigation, including reading a deposition transcript where the principal of Double Eagle admitted that he had no contract with the town of Hempstead, which seems to sum up the whole case. So it was not a prudent use of the taxpayers' money to settle this litigation. And other information came to me, so that's why we tabled it, but now it's being untabled. I don't know which members of the board. Joe Raw indicated 2 members of the town board untabled it. I don't think it should be untabled, and I don't think we should pay any settlement in this case.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about this, and I don't think the board, I think they need to think seriously about passing this, and I agree that it should be tabled in the best interest of the taxpayers, and in view of the fact that we have a new incoming supervisor, and everyone is watching very closely, and I pray to God he takes the same position that I did and ask for your resignation, Mr. Ra. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. Barbara Epstein?
Barbara Epstein from Wonton, New York. The Legal and Voters has a decision related, I'm talking on number 31, yes, okay. Legal and Voters has a decision relating to affordable housing, and the concern when we deal with the zombie housing, it's important that we do as much as we can to make sure that these zombie properties can get back onto the tax rolls, and hopefully a lot of them can be renovated so that, or rebuilt with other not-for-profit organizations so that these can be made affordable homes to residents in the town. Because as we all know, there's a great need for more affordable housing to keep our young people here in Nassau County and the town of Hempstead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Epstein.
Ms. Epstein, I agree with you, but we need to put them all over the whole town.
I totally agree with you.
In the area where we live here.
I totally agree with throughout the town of Hempstead.
We need to do it so that we don't get settled with all the money that comes out of IDAs. Because our people, I live in my district, taxpayers are paying a lot of money. I don't want to say that word, but they're paying an awful lot of money because people are borrowing against to build them. And it's to the point now, in some of my areas, there's no place to park your cars.
Thank you.
If everybody agrees to put them all over, that would be fine with me. I agree.
Mary Ellen Craig?
Good morning, Mary Ellen Cray, 436 Locust Avenue, Uniondale. On item number 19, which areas, please? And I'd like to draw attention to the fact that a survey could be made of the sidewalks at Echo Park.
Commissioner, please.
Morning Supervisor, Town Board. This resolution has 96 properties that have sidewalks constructed or reconstructed. Residents will be given 30 days to make those changes, and then we will take the next steps after that. In Uniondale, we have these 4 items. I can get them for you. All right, I can get them for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Uniondale. Thank you. I'd like to note that the time was not stopped while Commissioner came forward. On item number 31, I'd like to point out that Uniondale Community Land Trust has just had the lottery on the home that it was on the home that it had renovated, and we're in the process of seeing which people will qualify and how that goes. So we very much are in favor of that. So on the, I can't read my own notes. Oh, Nostrand Avenue. They've been working on Nostrand Avenue for a long, long time. So is this some new situation, or?
Which item are you talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry, 34.
Councilmember Supervisor.
Thank you.
Item 34 was an amending resolution. There was an error in the estimated quantity for one of the construction items. This is amending resolution to take care of that situation.
I see, so it's to pay more to the construction company?
It's to pay additional from quantity that was left off the original contract.
I see, thank you. On items number 42, 3, and 5, I'm wondering where in Uniondale these various situations are going, for the public hearings, just so we know where in Uniondale, please.
Thank you.
Morning Supervisor, Town Board members.
Good morning.
I'm Reed representing Traffic Control. These are all issues for the upcoming Town Board, and I can get the information for you.
Oh, you'll get it for me?
Yeah.
Okay, very good, because we'd like to know specific locations. Thank you, Ms. Reed. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Craig. Felix Procacci?
Felix Procacci. On the meeting dates, I recommended this before. I wish the town would email on the email list the dates when you're having a meeting, so people will always expect it. When you have unexpected meetings, may not read the paper, so they could get it in their email. So I signed up for it, but we don't get that notification. On the list of designated newspapers, it was adjourned. I agree with the adjournment. There's one thing, I brought this up several times in the past. The Franklin Square Bulletin, I believe, is still owned by a town employee. I believe his financial disclosure form should be available to the public. If he is still an employee, if he's doing business with the town, I believe that should be public information so people know that it's a town employee running it. I think it's only fair and just, to make sure there's no conflict of interest. Also, Also on the code of ethics, the adjournment, I agree with that. We don't have an ethics board, a working ethics board. We really need a working ethics board, otherwise the ethics code is really useless. Also, as I've spoken about this before, that the procedure for how to file an ethics inquiry, it's not necessarily a complaint, should be put on the website, should be very conspicuous, so if people do question behavior of a town official, that they could see the guidelines. They'll decide after reading it that there was no wrongdoing, but it should be readily available so people could understand it. Just a very simple guide to it. On number 25, the transfer of funds, I know we postponed this. Is there anything else besides this that's holding up getting our audited financials done, or is this it?
Mr. Longobardo, are you here?
Morning, Supervisor, Town Board. The only thing we are waiting for on our audited financial statements right now would be from one or two of the outside districts waiting for their audited financial statements.
Which ones are those?
One is the water district in Western Hempstead, and I'd have to check.
West Hempstead Water District? And you don't know the other one?
Sure, we don't.
Okay.
They may have already submitted theirs.
Okay. And on number 28, the litigation with Lisa Whitaker, what is that about? I couldn't find, I looked up the code on, Nassau Supreme Court, I couldn't find that case there. Can someone tell me what that case is about? It should be public record.
The matter is litigation, and therefore I will not comment on the matter.
But I should be able to get a copy of the casework. I couldn't find that on.
Mr. Rock, can you just, with respect to that portion of the litigation that is already in the public domain, just tell Mr. Felix Procacci what the case is about?
But I cannot, Councilman, because it is not in the public domain.
There isn't a complaint file that's in the clerk's office?
That is correct. There is not.
You gave a complaint number on the resolution, and I looked at that complaint number, and I couldn't find.
I'm not going to comment on if the board like to go to executive session, I'll tell you what's going on, but I can't tell you.
I think we should go into executive session.
Okay.
So we'll just take a short break to go into executive session.
Okay.
Thanks, Felix. Hopefully, I'm kidding.
Supervisor, if I may, we went into executive session and we defer to counsel. Counsel, will you give Mr. Procacci an answer?
There is pending litigation, I'm not going to comment.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, Rory Gordon.
Can somebody explain to me resolution number 32?
Commissioner? Commissioner Rock not here? Commissioner Rock?
Good afternoon, Supervisor, members of the Town Board. Resolution 32 is, we've been asking FEMA since day one for information that they had on the properties within the town of Hempstead. And they basically been refusing up to this point, and then they finally said, if there's a resolution approved by the town board, that they will give us that information.
Information in regards to what? I mean, financial, the documents that they received to get assistance, what type of information?
We would have access to all of that information.
So
we would know which houses were considered substantially damaged by FEMA.
But your department is the one that did the assessment on that. I'm lost somewhere here.
My department did a preliminary damage assessment 7 years ago. Looking from the outside, we searched 167,000 homes. So we did not get inside of them. Most people came forward and filed building permits because the building permits were free since day one and are still free. So the town board has made it possible for people to come forward because there is no cost for the permitting fee. The town board has waived over $7 million in permit fees up to date. Unfortunately, some people have not taken advantage of this yet, and by us getting this information from FEMA, it will help us assist the residents.
But shouldn't you already know who hasn't come forward based on the code that you gave them originally? Whether it was yellow or red? You would know, right?
We have a list, and they're still coming in slowly but surely.
Okay, is there a cutoff for this particular time?
No, there's not. The homeowners are still coming in as they're getting their paperwork and their finances in order.
Okay, and on number 38, can somebody explain that to me?
That's the town board's resolution.
Can you explain about the flood insurance?
Yes, basically, what the town board is looking to do is write a letter to the House of Representatives stating that they should change their policies.
And actually, just a question on that. 38 is a resolution asking the board to, I guess, like the commissioner said, send a letter to Congress. Is there a reason why it's a resolution and we're not just preparing?
This is a sense of the board resolution.
No, I understand what the sense of the board is. I understand the definition, but what I don't understand is...
FEMA has already, the National Flood Insurance Program has already postponed to, I think, 2021. They've already did what this resolution calls upon them to do, but it happened after this calendar was published. So that's why it's here, but last week they already did what we're asking them to do.
In other words, it's already passed.
Right, so what I'm trying to say is there's no point in this resolution. I'm just trying to get an understanding. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just trying to get an understanding.
The extent that they've already done.
I get that.
Ms. Sinclair, do you have anything to just offer about this resolution? Thank you, Commissioner.
I've read it in the newspaper, it's already been done, so we don't have to do this.
So while they did postpone the date of enacting the new flood insurance reform, they still haven't rewritten the bill. And the issue we have right now is that most of our homeowners who have flood insurance, based on the new risk rating program, could see their flood insurance go through the roof. And so we're basically saying, even though you've delayed it by a year, there still needs to be significant reform, or we're going to have people essentially having to foreclose on their homes because they won't be able to afford the burden of their flood insurance. So the census resolution is to say that, we support reform, but we support smart reform that doesn't open up our homeowners to additional risk more than they already have living in the floodplain.
Right, I think all I'm trying to point out is that we're not, all we're doing is letting Congress know that we are in support of them moving this forward. This is not something that's going to change the building department tomorrow. We're in essence sending a letter saying we support this.
What we're saying is we don't support the bill as written.
Right.
And it's what most of the counties along the East Coast and towns have been doing, is adopting these.
And I agree with it. I'm just trying to point out that it's not,
correct.
There's nothing, just because I know there was questions and the commissioner had to answer. That's all. I was just pointing that out.
So this would really just give us a way to advocate for our residents, and it's certainly something that we will circulate with the town board, and everybody can weigh in and give comments on it. It's not going to be done unilaterally.
I know you really have a handle on all this, about how many homes are still up in the air.
As the commissioner described, because we haven't had homeowners coming in, so let's say we have 20,000 flood insurance policies in the town of Hempstead. We had 13,000 people who had PDAs. There's some delta there, people who just haven't taken any action, and so therefore we can't determine until they come into the town and apply for permits. So that's why we've been sort of doing more of an awareness so that people know what they can do to help themselves.
And what is it, the awareness that you do? Besides the letter that Laura sent out, I'm not talking about that I am aware of.
Well, there's been information that's been on the town website about coming and applying for permits post-Sandy, and I think in all of the media that's gone out and everything we've discussed, we've been telling people you need to be aware that you may have storm damage that needs to be mitigated.
Okay, and this letter from FEMA that's supposed to be answered in 60 days, who's responsible to answer this?
Well, the building department, and then I assume the town attorney's office would sign on whatever their formal response is. Yes.
So the same people that screwed it up are responsible to put it back together?
I think we have an opportunity with FEMA's request for policy and procedures to ensure that we are handling things properly. So we look at this as an opportunity.
Well, from your mouth to God's ears, because if not, they have an opportunity to say, hey, Town of Hempstead, we're not going to insure you anymore. Is that correct? In your opinion?
Okay. I can't speak to us being de-obligated from the flood insurance program. I think that's...
We do need to stick to the item on the calendar, Ms. Gordon.
Oh, okay, thanks. You've been very helpful. I appreciate it. And then number 40, I also agree that this should not be settled at this time. It's a travesty what's going on behind the curtain. And it took somebody like you to open up the curtain so we all would know, although we had a pretty good idea. And I think it was insulting the night of the election that they dragged Yamali up on stage. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Rich Shuren.
Good afternoon, Richard Shuren, 167 Jefferson Avenue. I have a question concerning process between the departments and the legal department. I'm not asking concerning a specific case that's under litigation.
Mr. Shuren, I'm sorry, I have to confine you to the items on the administrative calendar. So if your top comments are tied to an item on the calendar, you can go right ahead, but otherwise I'll leave it to the public.
So my comment is tied to item number 40. It's been reported with respect to item number 40 and other items and other issues that the town of Hempstead has contractual relations with vendors that are of an extremely informal nature. For example, it's been reported in this case that the vendor said he didn't even have a contract and he's running a huge facility, multi-million-dollar facility. And other vendors have indicated that they're running operations without contracts or based on letter agreements. And it's very disturbing to me as a resident taxpayer that apparently the town has entered into legal relationships with entities without proper contracts, proper indemnification provisions, proper other provisions in a normal contract that would protect the taxpayer. So my question really is, what's the process with respect to department heads either extending, modifying, amending, or entering into contracts with vendors? Do they present that to the legal department for approval, for advice, for consent, or do they just go ahead and execute it themselves based upon their own authority? Mr. Watt, is there any type of process and review as an attorney that your office participates in with respect to approving or sanctioning these types of arrangements?
Since there is litigation or potential litigation on a couple of contracts that fit into the category that you're speaking about, I cannot comment. Anything I say would be used in court one way or another, so I cannot comment.
Okay. Well, as a citizen of the town of Hempstead, as a taxpayer, it's extremely, and an attorney, it's extremely disturbing to me to hear reports that the town of Hempstead is entering into relationships that allow vendors to operate, for example, running a catering hall, which creates all sorts of liability issues, without having proper agreements in place that protect the town of Hempstead and its taxpayers. And it's the relationships between the vendors and political individuals. It's just very, very, very disturbing and quite frankly frightening as to liability issues that can and will arise in these types of situations. I mean, for example, somebody were to be hurt at the golf course, for example, while Double Eagle was running. I know they're not running it anymore. They've been forced out. But, I mean, and they were to sue the vendor and the town. I mean, you don't have agreements in place, indemnification agreements, insurance agreements, other various things. It's just extremely, extremely reckless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stern. I do not have any other slips on the administrative calendar. Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard?
Rita Mayor, Baldwin resident. The question with regard to number 14. My time is kind of ticking away. Should I keep talking or you be able to?
I'm sorry, it's on item 14.
Item 14. With no due disrespect, I had meant to post a question. I lost like 5 seconds on the clock. So,
Commissioner, would you just come up and speak on this?
Good afternoon, Supervisor, Town Board members, Senior Councilwoman. This item is for exterminating services that weren't covered under line item stuff. It was at 200 North Franklin Street.
so this is an office building.
Yes, it's our main building at 200 North Franklin.
We have a situation with bed bugs.
Yes.
Interesting. Oh, okay. Thank you.
It was many months ago, it was done, it was taken care of. It was mainly preventive. There was actually not a situation. It was very contained. It was actually on a person. There was none in the building, and we just did very extreme preventives to make sure that it was safe for all our residents.
Okay. I was just hoping making sure that it wasn't at any facility or anything that we have,
Thank you, Commissioner.
vulnerable populations. Concerned about certain items that get moved with residents don't really have clarification and may not be able to come to speak. I was kind of, again, trying to keep up with Councilman Esposito's changes and requests for that. I won't repeat some of the statements that were made earlier. My concerns, I echo with regard to item 40. I'm concerned with regard to the situation with FEMA and those houses. Many of those residents have not been able to come forward right now. They're having fights with the county and the state. So a number of them, including a number of veterans, are facing foreclosure action because they're still paying taxes on properties that they can't live in. The procurement policy, item 36, not sure why that was adjourned without a date. If someone could explain that to me, I'd appreciate it. 36. From what I understand, you wanted it adjourned without a date.
Mr. Regina? 36.
This is the panel of our service providers. My recommendation to the board was to hold on approving that. There are items in the procurement guidelines that I want to discuss with the board before any other panels are established.
Could you be a little more specific?
No, that's between me and them on legal matters.
Okay. Seems to be a lot of internal stuff that noticeably residents are concerned about, particularly if you talk in 38 where you say seek meaningful and affordability protections. We're looking to do that, writing a letter to the government, our federal government agencies, and residents are not getting it from our own local government. So I'm just concerned about that. Item 31, as it pertains to the funding for building development for zombie homes, My focus has always been particularly on trying to keep residents in their homes. Again, particularly our veterans who normally come forward well beyond the realm of possibility to get the assistance. So again, while I also focus on making sure that we do all the relative and necessary salutes, I'm also the one that is dealing with the local sheriffs to try to avoid foreclosures and eviction processes. So I would like to see possibly some of those funds go towards housing protection as opposed to homeless support services. We could do that. We could make less homes zombie homes. Lastly, on item 49, I just want to again understand what the process is with this overall ethics board, because there seems to be, again, questions as to what this is actually going to do, because public trust is over. It does not exist, sad to say, but we still have to pay these taxes. So if somebody could explain that to me.
An ethics board wasn't paneled, however, one of the designees resigned, I think, very shortly after he was appointed by the council. It's one of the council's designees, and they have to refill that position. I don't see any reason why the ethics board still cannot meet. I wrote to them and asked them to meet, but they have not met yet, to my knowledge.
I see, okay. One of the other things I would hope with the incoming administration, or possibly with this current administration, is if we can truly affect some type of process that we can increase inclusion for service-disabled and veteran-owned businesses, so that we can actually see on the listings here if these companies, some of these names are familiar, so I'm not seeing anything new, I'm not seeing anything diverse, and that's a challenge and a concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Narday. Ms. Jacobs.
Pearl Jacobs, Uniondale, representing Nelson Garden Civic Association. Regarding item 31, reduction of zombie homes, I'm all for anything that would reduce zombie homes in our areas. However, we need a moratorium, and I'm sure Uniondale residents would wholly support a moratorium on shelter homes in our communities. And I'm not referring to shelter homes with women and children, domestic homes. I'm talking about shelter homes with people coming out of prison, drug-related, and the such. Okay, so the statistics are alarming. 81% of all shelter homes in Nassau County that are sanctioned by the Nassau County Department of Social Services are located in majority minority communities. Uniondale, Roosevelt, Hempstead, and Freeport. Every community in Nassau County, in the town of Hempstead, should share the burden of shelter homes. And this sort of practice lends to further marginalization of communities of color. Senior Councilwoman Goolsbee, would you support me on that?
I have no problem supporting that. First, we have to get the legislators to really help us, because it comes through that we don't have anything to do. They pay the money to these folks who have those shelters. I would really support that.
So perhaps maybe we can get together and meet and start some sort of dialogue with the legislator, a joint discussion regarding moratoriums on these shelter homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to be heard on the administrative calendar?
Good afternoon. Supervisor Goolsbee, Council. Point of inquiry of case number 2915, item 7. Is it connected to case number 2943, number 10? First, the resolution 10 ratifying confirming granting permission of the town of Hempstead parking fields. Because I noticed that Uniondale in there, and then it speaks about number 10 about donations. So I just want to point of inquiry first clarification.
So you're asking about item number 7, is that correct, sir?
Yes. Well, for the first part, because it says the first part of resolution 10, which, if you go down to number 10, it speaks about a donation to the town of Hempstead of $5,000 to subsidy of the park, the town for some concept program. Okay. So I wonder if the two are connected.
So, Commissioner, are these connected? the use of the
No,
park.
but it has
field.
Baldwin here, Merritt, I'm sorry, it has Uniondale on 7, that makes it weird.
I actually don't believe so. The town of Hempstead just gives a permit for different uses for parking fields.
Oh, okay.
And that's our total responsibility. We don't allow anyone to make money or things of that nature. If it's a 501c or so, we'll allow that. But I didn't see anything negative when I reviewed them.
Yeah, because when I read this, when it's resolution 10, I went down to resolution 10, said authorization of town minister.
That's completely
That's what I said, point of inquiry for clarification. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, for the record, James Jacob, Uniondale.
Thank you very much.
My name is Denise Riggio, and I'm from Valley Stream. This is my first time coming to a meeting like this, but I can tell you it probably won't be my last. It's been very eye-opening to sit and listen to what's going on and what is not being disclosed to the public. Having come from a corporate environment during my career, I'm deeply concerned what I'm hearing with regards to policies and procedures. A lot of these items on here, from awarding contracts to moving funds from one account to another, which doesn't even tell you what's happening or why it's happening, to procurement policies, to settlements of cases, to the lack of an ethics board functioning because a single member is not there. So in summary, I'd like to ask, where are the policies and procedures that fundamentally run our government? And where is that available for public review and comments so that we can go through them, we can understand what those procedures are, when they were last updated, when they were last reviewed, who's sitting on those committees, when those committees last were functioning, when the next meetings are, who is attending those meetings and who is not attending those meetings, so that when we come to meetings like this, we are informed about what is going on and how our government is functioning. Because coming from a corporate environment, I have to say, I'm shocked. So, and if it's available and I'm just new to this game, that's fine, but I really, really would like to.
Yes. So, first of all, the town is a creature of the state, so the first place to look for the rules and regulations on how we operate is town law. That's the title of the section. And then there is some interaction between the town law and the general municipal law, which is also a state law. So you would want to look in town law, general municipal law, and then we have rules and regulations that we promulgate here on the town board. And in addition to that, the ultimate policymaker is this board.
Okay.
That doesn't mean the commissioners can't set rules for their departments so long as it's micro rather than macro, but if it's a macro issue, it has to be approved by the town board.
So in terms of other concerns of yours, we've tried to make a push towards transparency. The things that are on the agenda, except the emergency hand-ups, which come generally right before the board meeting. The agenda is available on the town's website. We did put forward a resolution to bring in a contractor coordinates agenda to make the town agenda more searchable for residents, so that if there are 150 items on the calendar, 100 items on the calendar, there's something in particular you're looking for. Right now, you have to scroll through the agenda. I'm hoping that maybe in the months ahead, the town council tabled that resolution. I'm hoping that perhaps they will reconsider that and move forward and bring that resolution back. We worked on it for about a year. It will ultimately save the taxpayers money, and it's a really good idea, and it's a way to make things more transparent. In terms of other procedures with moving money around into different accounts, the resolution here is to reconcile some of the expenditures. This is something that does happen at the close of every year. However, I did have concerns about the ways monies were moved around within the town of Hempstead. My concerns were so severe that I wrote to the state controller, and he actually is doing a top-to-bottom fiscal audit of the town of Hempstead because of the concerns that I raised, and I expect that we will be getting a report probably I don't know if it's going to be within the month or the next month or so. They have been here working in Town Hall doing an audit. We have put forward transparency legislation that should suggest, unless it's changed, that once that audit is finalized, it should be published on our website. So that should give you some more information about some of the fiscal controls and some of the fiscal procedures here in Town Hall, and recommendations of the state controller.
Thank you. As a follow-up question to Mr. Lakeman, so I understand what you're saying to me is that it starts from the top down, and I can appreciate that, but from an operational standpoint, you're operating day to day, which means whether or not you've gotten the guidance from above, you've interpreted it in one way or another, and you should be documenting what those policies and procedures are, and that should be available. So from an operational standpoint, this government is operating day to day. How is it operating? Where are those policies, procedures, guidelines, rules, or whatever you want to call them? And then we can work up. Ideally, it should come top down, but we can work bottom up. So I would still like to understand how I can get to those details. Before you answer that, Ms. Dillon, I would also like to know where we can get more details on these individual items. They're individual line items, and it's money's moving, but it's not. It just says it's 25. It just says money's moving.
I'd be happy to provide you a copy of the resolution so you can see where exactly the money is moving. So, for example, for 2018, there was an over expenditure of over $500,000 from the Tax Receivers Office, and so money has to be moved over there to cover those over expenditures. And there's items like that, and we'd be happy to give you a copy of that.
So in general, the public can access that information? Or
yes, it was part of the resolution that was put forward.
But any one of these that we want information on?
For every item on the agenda, there should be a backup for the resolution that is not just on the agenda, but there's a backup that's published. Sometimes that will tell you the whole story, and that's why people come here to ask us some information. With pending litigation, it is more difficult because if there is pending litigation going on, for example, one of the things that Mr. Ross said was in terms of taking a position on whether or not commissioners are authorized to execute contracts on behalf of the town without putting them before the town board is an issue that's involved right now in litigation with Dover Catering. So if he took a position here, that could be used against him or used against the town in litigation, and so he would not do so without following the legal protocol with respect to that ongoing litigation. So there are sometimes legitimate reasons why we cannot comment on ongoing litigation. Also, there are concerns about privacy matters, sometimes with employees and things like that.
I appreciate that. So that goes back to where I would now like Mr. Blakeman to answer the question with regards to the procedures, rules, policies, and procedures. Again, it doesn't matter what you're going to call them. From an operational standpoint, you're operating. So where are those guidelines for public viewing?
I'll defer to counsel to give you the background.
Most of what we do here has been passed by resolution and is available online if you know what resolution you want to look for. If you want internal work rules and things like that, if you foil them, then we can get those too.
I guess in my remaining 8 seconds, what I would say is that it's shocking that a government of this size does not have it readily available for new employees, and that I as a public citizen, have to toil.
I'd be happy to put those items online for you. Or, like, for example, we have policy procedures for the animal shelter that were just put into place. I'd be happy to post those online and make those things available to you. So if you want to reach out to my office about some of the things that you think are important, I'd be happy to address this in specifics with you. Thank you. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to be heard on the administrative calendar? All right. Madam Clerk, can you call roll on the administrative calendar?
Supervisor Gillen?
Aye. I vote aye, except with respect to item number 33, which is the calendar. Regardless of who's sitting in the seat, I believe there should be more night meetings that are more accessible to residents. I put forward originally a calendar that had, I think, 50% of the meetings at night. I do believe that that's something that the town council and town board should reconsider. And I vote most decidedly no on the settlement that's contemplated in item number 40.
Councilman Blakeman?
Yes, I vote aye on the administrative calendar as amended, with the exception of item 40, I vote no.
Councilman Diaz-Pasito?
I vote aye on the amended calendar. I'm recusing myself from number 23, and I'm voting no on number 40.
Councilman Dunn?
I vote aye on the amended calendar and number 140.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby?
I vote aye on all except number 40. I vote no.
Councilman Moscarella?
I vote aye on the proposals and no on number 40.
Okay, I would like to thank my fellow town board meeting members for voting on item 40. I think that was a great move. I'm very happy that we agreed on that. May we have a...
That's what we do. When there's something is right, that's what we do.
That's right. Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Supervisor Newland?
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman? Aye. Councilman Diaz-Pasito? Aye. Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby? Aye. Councilman Moscarella?
Aye.
Well, if anybody wants to stay, you can stay. I have the, excuse me? What is it, huh? What are you looking for?
You guys are not offering this public for anything that is happening? Oh, you need now,
Take a 5-minute break, 2-minute break.
All right. First up, Felix Procacci. Mitch, can you stay? You got to answer this question real quick. Felix Procacci. I brought up a while back about Thomas Wildig, the issues with an inquiry I made to his office regarding the contract of John Mastromarino. And I understand Mr. Picnic resubmitted it to him to review again. And I just want to know, he was, by the words that came back to me was he was asking for another 120 days to reevaluate it again. I just want to know if he ever got back to you on that.
Mr. Willig is here, I don't know if you want to...
Oh, no, if he would like to answer what the problem is, I'm happy for him to sit down if you'd like to. Is he? Okay, he doesn't want to. Can't force him.
No, this is public comment.
I understand. Well, the thing is, it's, as I stated when I brought this up months ago, it was basically an incompetent report. It was one sentence. It took 111 days, I believe, to complete. So my personal feeling is this board should take action and fire Mr. Wildig for basically violating the ethics code, intentional violation of the ethics code, and should bring this to the district attorney because according to our own compliance officer's law, he committed a misdemeanor. It's part of the law. I think that if we're going to pass ethics laws and have all this stuff, I think when it comes up, we should at least address it. And from what I can tell, we're not even addressing it, so it's not really good. Another thing, I'm not going to pose it as a question. I know why it was done. I just felt that bringing up the transactions on the November 4th meeting, it didn't even follow our 1-hour rule that we just passed. I mean, I know it's a back and forth of who started this and who started that. I really don't care who started it. I just want to start following the rules from here on in. And we did it 2 times in a row. And the other side, from what I could tell, and I got all the videos, if anyone could point out where the other side did it, I don't see it. I don't even recall it, that we just follow the rules that we pass. I think that's not a lot to ask. And one more thing is, just like we did with the bed bug issue on the administrative calendar, where we ratifying an extension to a contract after the fact, why don't we make put that same verbiage into the procurement rules and stuff for contracts, that instead of just giving the commissioner
and the controller the right to extend the contract, maybe they could do that if it's worthy, but then at the next town board meeting, they're required to notify the town board formally. So just like we're doing with the bed bug issue, that we did hire the people first, and then it came back to the board. If any changes made to the contract, the controller or the commissioner should be required to bring that at the next available town board meeting. So if it was an urgent thing, they had to, use $10,000 to fix the plumbing or something, and they didn't have a town board meeting to present that resolution, that's fine. But present it at the next town board meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Bogacci. Mary Timmons.
Hello.
Thank you for welcoming us to speak about our issue.
No problem. Glad you
Appreciate
came.
that very much. So I'm Mary Timmons, and this is one of my neighbors.
My name is Margaret Rozeski.
And we live in the town of Hempstead, greatest township in America, largest. And we happen to also live in the community of Garden City. So we have an issue, cell antennas. Cell antennas are across Long Island. Some areas have been gravely affected. The town of Huntington is going through a huge, huge problem. And their present board is working on, they've written a letter to Tom Swazi and asking that he contact the FCC and Congress and have them look into the safety of these cell antennas that are going up all over the place. Our situation in Garden City is that I came home from vacation one day, a little bit of jet lag, walked into my tiny little backyard, and first thing I saw was this huge blob of a 4 foot tall, 1 foot wide, 8-inch deep equipment box. And it was making a huge noise. Like, what is this? I look up, and about 22 feet up, there's a pole, about a 4 foot tall pole. I'm like, oh, somebody must be measuring something back here. I couldn't think of anything else. Well, a week later, it's still there. Nobody knows what it's about. A week after that, it's still there. Turns out that it is a cell antenna. A company, without our permission, without the homeowner's permission, this is surrounded by 4 homes, 60 by 100 plots, 8 foot away from a child's play set. On a utility pole, on private property on the utility pole, trespassed. We don't even know how they got back there. Trespassed and put up all this massive equipment. We have been bullied. We have been traumatized in the neighborhood. We have had many meetings. We've reached out to Crown Castle. We've said, please move this in summary. Their attorney met with us and said we would be more than happy to move it. But our client is T-Mobile, and they need it there. Okay? We reach out to John Ledger, the big guy in pink at T-Mobile. Help us. He sends a woman, she looks at it, she can't say anything, but her face says it all. She's going to help us. That was over 18 months ago. You know where we are? Start one. Start one, that's where we are, over 18 months. One antenna on private yard without permission, without a permit. We have no help from Garden City on this, by the way. They told us to hire our own attorney. Do you want to know the figures for that? Marcia has 3 more minutes. Can she continue?
Sure.
Well, it requires...
I just have a question, just so I have an understanding. Obviously, this is Councilman Muscarella's district. I don't want to impose on him, but I just want to, from my knowledge, you guys live in the incorporated village of Garden City, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, but this is how we need your help.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to get an understanding, that's all.
Just briefly, you know how there's a fire, whether it is in Garden City, okay? It's too massive. What happens? We are Long Islanders. We pull together. We don't let anybody sink. We are sinking sunk. One homeowner, the DeMarco family, you think they have over 200,000? No, and T-Mobile and Crown Castle know that.
Hopefully you're not drowning. Councilman Muscarella has life jackets for you. We're going to save you. Go ahead.
Yes. Mary DeMarco is the homeowner, and she would be here, but she had stomach surgery, so she's unable to be with us.
So I'd like to make a note of that. But Mary is right. I mean, we are being taken advantage of. We're being bullied. I live across the street from this atrocity, and quite frankly, we've been forced to create a neighborhood watch committee to look for these Crown Castle trucks that come down the block. A few years ago, they were going to upgrade this and put a much larger, stronger antenna, and we didn't even know it. There was a simple door hanging paper on Mary's door. Didn't even know what it was regarding. She had to call and ask a lot of questions, and as a homeowner, you should be able to know what's going on in your private property.
Can I just add, lifelong resident of Garden City. Where exactly in Garden City do you guys live? Where are you?
Well, the one that has no permit, because they actually took the address where they requested to open the street through the conduit, they on their own left that address and went to a different address. There's only one location like that, and that is 31 Maxwell Road. The emissions go out, as far as we know, at least 1,500 feet. And T-Mobile has said to us they want to move it, but guess what? They can't find a place to move it to. They asked us if we want to
worry about. We shouldn't have to worry about where they have to find a location for this. This has been very close proximity to Hemlock Park.
Yeah, I know.
Hemlock School.
Your address, that's where I went to school.
Our block alone, we have tons of children. We've got children with special needs.
Yes, I know.
And this is an ongoing worry. We all know that the radiation from cell phones are a big concern, and we've got radiation coming out of this 24/7, which we can't put on airplane mode. We can't shut it off. The device actually has a warning on it. It's easily reachable from the ground. If any kids decide that they want to be rambunctious and climb up, they certainly could. So we're shocked that safety hasn't been taken into consideration whatsoever. But another outrage is when we foiled hundreds and hundreds of documents. God blessed us with finding this one needle in a haystack, really, after looking and looking. Because we kept on asking, is there a permit for this? Where's the permit for this? We couldn't find any permit. Well, that's because this was supposed to be at 18 Linden Street, but was put at 31 Maxwell Road. So when the fiber was laid and the ground was dug up, they went well beyond their scope of the permit. And the permit, which I have in my hand, and I can go around certainly to the entire board, states that homeowner permission is required.
Do you have an extra copy of that? Can you leave that with the clerk?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys. Obviously, Councilman Muscarella will be in touch with you to go through any issues moving forward. Obviously, not trying to pass the buck, but it is a Village of Garden City issue that I know the councilman is going to try to move through the weeds for you. So I guess for now, just be patient, but he is on it.
Respectfully, can I just have like 30 more seconds? I know we had a lot of questions back and forth.
If I could just mention one thing. Councilman Muscarella about a month ago asked us to look into this. We have run into what you've run into. The Village of Garden City basically doesn't care. They will not help us. They will, all we can do, all the council can do, is advocate for you. See, we enforce our rules by our building department. We go out and serve summonses when somebody puts up a structure without a permit. Right? We can't do that at your house because we have no jurisdiction there. But when you have talked to Crown Castle, excuse me, have you?
I'm saying, when you get an application here from T-Mobile and Crown Castle, you need to remember us. You need to remember they won't remove one antenna. What about all of your residents? One antenna.
In any event, so
yes.
Have you spoken to Mr. Delaney? I believe he's your trustee, Mr. Delaney.
We have talked multiple times over the years. And yes, in fact, we went to the Town of Oyster Bay meetings and we actually spoke there. And then we went to a Garden City Village meeting and spoke, and we were told that if we liked the Town of Oyster Bay so much, that maybe we should move there.
And they told us at the Village of Garden City board meeting, why don't we go around and collect money from our neighbors to help pay for the attorney's fees? Now, it's ridiculous.
We asked our previous mayor, Mayor Thorning, multiple times to meet with him. He refused to meet with us. And our Mayor Trouvé, we've sent multiple emails, and none of them have been responded to. So we cannot have a dialogue with our village.
If it was in my district, and if it was my house, let me put it that way. 18 Linden is supposed to have the cell site, correct?
Correct. They're supposed to have.
Just correct, yes and yes.
Yes.
So 31 Messers where they put it, 18 Linden may be getting, they pay handsomely every month. You having that cell site on your property, 18 Linden might be getting paid.
No, they're not.
Did you ask them?
No, that's happening.
All right, so here's what I would do then. Here's what I would do. Go to the DA, say they illegally put stuff on my property. I'm not being paid, but everybody else is being paid. They're getting paid handsomely every month to have a cell site on their property, and this person's not getting that money. It could be moved to public property where then the city would be happy to get involved if there's no money coming to them.
We did file a complaint with the DA.
Have you gone to the DA?
Yes, we did. The DA, they're aware of it.
I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you guys off, but we're trying to stick to the 3 minutes because there are other people that want to speak.
Of the town of Hempstead. And obviously, we're going to be working with Councilman Muscarello.
Sure.
And we're very happy that you voted and you had a vote. We would just wonder why the town of Hempstead would continue to do business with T-Mobile or Crown Castle.
Well, and that's something that we'll speak to our attorneys and we'll go from there.
Thank you for your support. Thank you. Coming back and we'll pay attention to what's going on in this town. Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do.
Rochelle Kevelson.
Hello, Michelle Kelvison, Lawrence, New York. I have two issues here, and the first one was with New York American Water. They have, in the last few years, dug up the streets, and then they had to be redone and redone and redone. A postcard was sent out about a week ago that they're going to do more work. And obviously, on my block and farther down, and they said they're working near or next to the Cedarhurst Country Club. I've lived in the 5 towns about 53 years, and I've never heard of Cedarhurst Country Club. They couldn't even write the Lawrence Yacht and Country Club. I don't understand that. But the problem is the water bills are enormous. People are complaining in Woodmere and Cedarhurst and Hewlett. They're enormous. I get bills, and I'm one person, 253 gallons a day. Think about 253 gallons of milk. Picture that. That's a lot. I take a shower. I don't use my dishwasher. I do a few laundries. I do have irrigation. And I spoke to them numerous times, and they said, use it for 5 minutes once a week. I use it 3, I don't have big property, my house is very small. And I use it every other day. I'm number 21, so I go on the odd days for 20 minutes. And I don't feel, I've had them come, they check the meter, I have no leaks, whatever. And something has to be done. So we're getting hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
So if I can interject, the water company is regulated by the state, the Public Service Utilities Corporation.
They have gotten
or commission. The use of your water, if it is an issue, they are supposed to send somebody out to check and make sure that you're being properly metered for the water that they're alleging that you use. So if you think that there's a gross miscalculation, you have to make a complaint to the Public Service Utility Commission, and in addition, they're the ones that set not only the rates, but they are the ones that approve or deny the capital improvement program that the water company is supposed to be engaged in. And they're not supposed to get increases unless they have a valid reason for it, both operationally and from a capital standpoint. And one of the things that we've talked about on this board is the fact that we don't believe that they are keeping pace with the capital plan that addresses issues with respect to the brown water that we get, the fact that they need filtration systems, the fact that they need to replace certain pipes that they haven't done. But if ordinary residents, I can write a letter, and I have written a letter, I think probably Anthony's written letters and others on the board have written letters, but unless the residents, you as individuals, complain, they're not going to do anything. And it's regulated by the state, and we have virtually no control over it.
I know that they are, they get raises constantly. This is wrong, I didn't talk,
I'm sure I'll give you some.
Okay. The other issue I have, Councilman Blakeman, how Inwood passed for the rezoning. Nobody knew about anything. And I am very active in the Village of Lawrence, and I don't understand that. What about...
Can I explain that to you?
Can I just say how dangerous that one street, Lawrence Avenue, will be a commercial street? Churches will be destroyed. There's a few bodegas. I don't understand. If there is a hurricane or something, we need that as a conduit. 878 is not, Rockaway Turnpike is not, we have to go to Mill Road. Atlantic Beach also, there's a problem. They can't get out of our neighborhood. They're going to build 1,700 apartments in Far Rockaway.
Yes.
That's coming also.
Yeah, so I want to respond to that. I think there's a misconception about what is taking place in Inwood and North Lawrence. So I can work you through that for a couple moments. But let me tell you about the process. The process was that we went out to the community and sent letters to everybody in the surrounding community, inviting them to public meetings that we held in the community, which is not what we ordinarily do. Ordinarily, we put something on the calendar, and it's up to the residents to have to come here to voice their concerns. But we sent letters out to everybody in the community.
What community? Lawrence is not. Lawrence is incorporated.
Lawrence was sent, yes.
Nobody got it. Nobody that I know.
Mrs. Kellerson, I can tell you that we had a number of Lawrence residents there. We had 3 meetings. We had a meeting that was a public meeting open to the general public, and we had 2 stakeholder meetings. The first stakeholder meeting was with all of the surrounding villages. That included the Village of Lawrence, the Village of Cedarhurst, and they also participated in a meeting with us where we unveiled the proposal, and there was no objection from the Village of Lawrence or the Village of Cedarhurst. Matter of fact, they were for it. Let me finish. Then there was another stakeholders meeting where we invited the Lawrence Cedarhurst Fire Department, the Meadowmere Park Fire Department, the Inwood Fire Department, the Woodmere Fire Department, Hopsala, the Long Island Railroad, the MTA, Nice Bus, Nassau County Police Department. They were all brought in, and I'm just naming a few, there were others. The Inwood Civic Association. We brought them all together. We had the proposal put out, and I would say 95% of the participants at that meeting were very positive. And then when we had the general meeting, for which if you lived within a 500-foot radius of the epicenter of where that was going to transpire, which includes the Village of Lawrence, you would receive a written letter inviting you to that meeting. That was overwhelmingly positive. Then we had the last meeting before the board considered that particular item. And at that hearing, we had people from the Village of Lawrence, we had people from Inwood, North Lawrence, Woodmere, Cedarhurst, and my colleagues can tell you, everybody but one person was for it. One person wasn't even against it, they just thought there should be more information. The fact of the matter is, Inwood and North Lawrence now is a public safety hazard, it's a transportation hazard. This transportation-oriented district is designed to get people out of their cars so that they don't take their cars, so that everything will be at their fingertips, so that when they live in the community, they don't have to drive to Cedarhurst, they don't have to drive to Peninsula Boulevard. They will have their bakery, their butcher shop, their dry cleaner. That's what it's called transportation-oriented housing. It's located at a railroad station and at a bus stop.
Railroad station is Lawrence.
There are two railroad stations, Lawrence and Inwood. Right.
I disagree with you wholeheartedly. The president of the Civic Association did not know anything about it. And I go to the board trustees meetings almost every time. And I was president of the Civic Association many years ago. You ask around, nobody knew of these meetings, and we didn't get, and she should have gotten, because I brought it up to her.
We had 4 meetings. Do you think that North Lawrence and Inwood now, by the railroad stations, is an acceptable condition for the community?
No, it's not.
It's not.
But to build big apartment houses, I don't know who's going to be there. Are a lot of children, more people going into our school district, because 15 only has about 20.
We also invited the school district to the meetings, and there was no opposition from the school board.
I don't know.
So look, we have.
And I'm very active.
Can I take some, Mrs. Kelson? We have a difference of opinion on that.
Fine.
Reasonable people
Meeting
can.
tomorrow night for flooding mitigation at a public library at 8 o'clock. Maybe you'd like to come, and we have a private meeting before, or we're going to have a regular meeting, and I would like you to.
I don't believe I can make that, but if you invite me back to some future meeting, I'm sure I'll do it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Shayla Ramos? No comment? Okay. Diane Madden?
Diane Madden, Hempstead. The operational audit and the lawsuit, what is the update with that? Of the animal shelter?
Pending litigation.
Still pending. So are you waiting for a response from the county controller?
Oh, sorry. It's pending litigation. I'm not going to comment.
Okay. Well, I would like to point out that to date, and I'm looking forward to after January 1st, no recommendations regarding outside animal care experts independent of political affiliations have been brought in. The compliance officer, any update with that? There's an investigation, I'm assuming. Is this not ongoing because you have no ethics board, or it's not meeting? I just want to be clear, so there's an ethics board, but it hasn't had any meetings in all of these months?
We had a ethics board member that resigned, and we need to fill the position.
So there is still a vacancy? Thank you for clarifying, because it's been very hard to get, in fact, I think I got a different answer, but I'd have to go back on the last time.
There is a vacancy on the board.
Okay, so it's been a number of months. Any idea about when?
We're hoping to have someone on the calendar for next board meeting.
Okay, there's also a situation that's been brought to my attention, and it's been brought to my attention for many years, because again, the town attorney's office does not enforce the laws and codes. It's with regards to a home where there are many GSDs, German Shepherd dogs, and there are many people that have been concerned about the welfare of dogs. And I'm always a believer that hoarders are not born, they're created. And I'm wondering if there's an update, if the animal shelter has taken any interest or action on this situation, and if those dogs have been checked on and vetted.
We can look into it and let you know.
You have a specific house in mind?
It's the one that you've been notified about many, many times, yes. I believe there's a political relative, which is why the town attorney's office has not taken action.
If somebody's violating the law, we take action. Okay, stop. It just doesn't happen like that. It doesn't.
Okay, so there's a lot of people that disagree with that have made complaints to the town.
You have a house that the person is a hoarder. and you tell me that the building department is not taking action.
I'm saying that there is a home where it appears that it's basically a kennel environment where there are no codes being enforced, no laws being enforced by the town, and these dogs have not been accounted for or checked on.
Can you give me the general location? Is it in West Hempstead? Is it?
I'll do so off record. The Ulster County Canines. I know, Mr. Rye, you keep insisting that you either don't know or it's not accurate. I would know. I helped and I created the Tales of Hope Fund. That fund, first of all, was supposed to be for wellness in addition to a few other things, but it's definitely for outside training if needed. That's not to say we shouldn't have a competent trainer, which we don't. But that Tales of Hope Fund should pay to donate some money to Ulster County Canines, a private organization that rubs pennies together to do the magnificent work that they do, and they picked up our dogs that this town board refused to get from Kim Strong, where the director, Mike Pastore, okayed to send. When is that money going to go to Ulster County Canines? They're our dogs, they're still our responsibility.
I would leave that to Mr. Lockwood to answer. I don't have day-to-day control of the animals.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. P. Salmon? There's no first name, I'm sorry. P. Salmon? Rachel Martino? It's okay.
I got some stuff for you guys to like take home too.
You just give it to the clerk. Thank you.
Okay, hi, Rachel Wright, Martino, Kings Park. First off, I would like to really thank everyone for hiring new Assistant Director Ashley Burns. She's been a godsend to the shelter. Just like Melissa Fogarty, they both know the names of the animals, their stories, and both ladies work great together with the animals, volunteers, and staff. However, I'm here today to discuss a really huge problem that cannot be overlooked anymore at your shelter. Just like with our children, when we have someone caring for them, we can only hope that they will communicate with us when a problem arises, and a huge problem has risen. Although things have been moving in an upward direction, one of the biggest problems has always been not enough staff to humanely care for the animals, your animals, the homeless animals of the town of Hempstead. As you can see in the pictures, it's one of the largest shelters in the country, but now since 5 already part-time, amazing employee hours have been cut, things are not looking good and are going downhill quickly. With that being said, I'd like to clarify that this is not a delegating or authoritative position problem at all. This is a staffing problem. This is literally a you can't squeeze water from a dry sponge problem. The bottom line is there is not enough staff at your town shelter to handle everything that needs to be done in a humane way. The best way to explain the shelter is that it's like a triage unit or an emergency room full of live beings that cannot care for themselves and cannot just sit there like a piece of equipment or a vehicle staying stagnant. On the average, your shelter houses over 100 dogs and 150 cats daily, and yet all departments are depleting. Kennel staff is not a pretty job. They have to clean the feces and the urine out of the kennels, to clean the litter pans all day long, take dogs in and out of the exercise pens, feed 250 animals, fill water bowls frequently. They're supposed to be helping with play groups, but there's not enough staff to do play groups, so that's not happening. TNR cats need to be processed. Volunteers need help with the staff in and out dogs. And then in the middle of all of this, bam, there's a dog tied to the fence outside, and they have to take care of that too. These hourly cuts have negatively affected the adoption department as well. Essentially, not enough of your animals are able to get homes or properly cared for because of the hour cuts. Another perplexing part of the hour cuts is that although there are hour cuts for very qualified and experienced existing staff, there are also some new faces. These are inexperienced people that need to be trained by your already understaffed kennel staff, And to boot, every new person that the town brings in is now a risk to the animals. Many of these newbie employees have zero experience handling animals. Some of them don't even want to handle animals. In reality, the existing experienced kennel staff can get more done by reinstating hours and even adding more hours than bringing on a new unexperienced person that may potentially be a liability. Just one more quick thing. I urge all of you to listen to the shelter directors and supervisors that you have hired. You've hired them because you know that this is the area, their area of expertise. But if you don't listen to them and don't give them the tools for what they need, then how are they supposed to be able to do what needs to be done? I beg you to please reconsider the hourly cuts and reinstate the hours to your already experienced, qualified staff, and also beg you to please consider giving them even more hours as well. The animals deserve it, and so do these awesome humans that do a really great job at the shelter. Let's not go backwards.
Well, thank you. We actually received some of your emails, I guess, over the last couple of days and this morning. And I know when we had a caucus this morning, we are going to sit down with the commissioner from General Services and try to figure out a way to get some of the hours back.
Great, and what I gave you all guys was like some calculations.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for your work. Rich Sherry. Rich Sherry. Marie Reimers. Did I say that right? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I practice.
Hi, how you guys doing?
How are you?
Okay.
Great.
Neighbors, I live in Lindendale for the last 26 years. And by any chance, has any of you guys read the paper of Newsday of October 29th?
I am sure we have, but you have to refresh.
It's about an article about the competing hours.
Jesse and John are our favorite writers, so we read it daily.
It's about the National Coliseum development.
Okay.
And you, actually, Mangano is the one that put it on the board since 2011. There was a bad weather day. We all went out and voted it down. That's how they went and renovated the Coliseum at a price of $187 million. Fine. But now, all of a sudden, you guys are going and do a rezoning for the Coliseum area. And you guys are giving the contract to RXR to go and developing. I don't even understand, I went to a meeting, I don't even understand where in that small area they can do everything they're going to do. But my main concern is they want to put some housing there. And the way they want to put it in is like if I rent apartment A and somebody rent apartment B, they have to share bathroom. They're not in college, they don't have to share bathroom like this. And they have tax-free for 30 years. Now, if you guys are giving them tax-free for 30 years, and we, the residents, you guys are aware that our tax is going up and up every year. When I moved to Nassau, my tax was $3,800. My tax is $7,000. So if I'm paying the tax, if the developer wants to build a business, they should be able to pay their own taxes. And by the way, Belmont is doing another development with 19,000 seats. So when the developer finishes to do this, and they don't have enough business for the two competing arenas, so they pack up and they leave. And us, we're going to leave with everything that they put down that will negatively affect our neighborhood. I don't know how you guys go to approve something that can make people share bathroom. So if they end up having small kids, when they move in, if they're single and they marry, so now their small kids will have to share bathroom with strangers. When you leave this to your guys people, please
Thank you.
read it.
Absolutely.
And something got to be done.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you much.
Denise Riggio? Okay. Pearl Jacobs.
My councilwoman return.
I'm not sure.
She said 10 minutes, it's been like half an
I'm not sure.
and I never get to speak.
Would you like me to call somebody else?
Yes, can you do that?
Sure.
Thank you.
Stuart Kroll.
Must be lonely over there. Must be lonely, the two of you.
That's all right. Tommy keeps me busy.
All right, there you go. Stuart Kroll, great man. First of all, Mr. Russell, congratulations on your victory. Even though I've had some disagreements with Bruce, I would congratulate him in absentia on his victory. For various reasons now, 2 supervisors have fallen by the wayside. I was there when Don Clavin recently promised to bring in qualified help to fix the shelter. That will no doubt involve replacing Mike Pastore and hopefully Christy Fonte as well. By the way, this rehiring and unqualified behaviors, who lied about 80% of her credentials, constitute financial neglect of the taxpayers. Perhaps a lack of fiduciary trust and responsibility, might be something that should be looked into as well. In the private sector, she would have been fired immediately. Is there somebody here who can maybe tell me why the shelter is closed for 2 weeks in November?
Excuse me, why the shelter was closed for 2 weeks in November?
There's no TNR for 2 weeks in November. That seems like a long time.
We could find out for you,
Okay. I'd also like to know why trappers can now only bring in 3 cats rather than the previous amount of 5. With a $5.5 million budget, you would think that they could accommodate 5 cats, and it's a hardship for trappers and causes more suffering to homeless cats. And I'd also like to know who's making those decisions. I mean, is it Mike Pastore making that decision on how many cats to do that? I mean, there's a guy that went to the Utica facility, gave it a clean bill of health, and then it was so bad that the mayor of Utica was in tears, so I don't think he's qualified to decide anything. That's my impression. I would like to know who's making those decisions, and if we can get it reversed to 5 cats.
Sure, we'll get you that info.
Okay, I appreciate that. I hope that Don Clavin will honor his pledge to revamp the shelter. I do believe that he's smart enough to do just that. It's quite clear that animal advocates have a voice. I think we've seen that pretty clearly right now. If not, you can answer to that in 2 years. I'll say something to Lori, even though she's not here. All I will say is that she ran on a clear platform of improving shelter conditions. We were quite pleased when she was elected 2 years ago. As soon as she took office, she immediately distanced herself from all animal advocates. I have no idea why she did this. Apparently, she thought she was immune from the same fate that befell Santino. Whatever advice she was getting in this matter was very bad advice, and we animal advocates counted on her help. It was not forthcoming, and we will merrily move forward without her help and without her. Thank you.
Jay Blackman. Jay Blackman. Lucille DeFina.
Well, the timing couldn't be better for volunteers. Thank you so much for coming up here and finally bringing up an issue that we've been saying for years and years. The thing that everybody has to realize here is this is the way the shelter's been for a while. You go in there, it's a ghost town. Somebody wants to adopt a kitten or a dog, there's nobody to help. You never see anybody walking around. The pens are empty. Everything has been stagnant. And now they're coming and speaking about it. I am thrilled to pieces because what everyone has to realize is when you say this shelter is not staffed, you have a 4.2, whatever it is, it's over $4 million in staff, $4 million in salary. And you still have people coming up here to this microphone, as we have for years, begging for people to help at the animal shelter. And you can't tell me 5 part-time employees that got dismissed is the problem. Yeah, we want them in there, we want them back, we want everybody in there working, but we certainly want a $4.2 million payroll salary that is spent on staff to be working and to be visible and to turn that shelter around with the help of these volunteers. They're certainly doing their part. And for you, Mr. D'Esposito, to say you're going to now speak to the commissioner to rectify this problem? Well, this commissioner, last I looked, has been there since day one. He's been there the whole time and has been very instrumental to bringing this shelter into the disgusting condition that it has been. So you better look somewhere else. And I really hope Don Clavin, because he himself at every debate said he's going to fire all the commissioners. Well, that's what has to happen here, especially at an animal shelter.
Wilhelmina Funderburg. Mita Meriday. Mary Ellen Craig.
Mary Ellen Craig, Unionville resident. First of all, I'm very pleased to learn the passing of item number 4 in the public hearing about the balloons. I think that is an important environmental issue and I appreciate it. Further, I would like to protest the adjournment of the ethics resolution because I feel it's an extremely important issue and should have been moved.
Thank you, Ms. Craig. Melissa Jaffe. 10-4, thank you. Phyllis Federici. Thank you. Rory Gordon.
She left.
Ms. Jacobs, it's all you.
Well, I regret again that I can't speak in front of my councilwoman.
You don't like me, Tommy, and Sylvia?
No, that's not personal. Nothing is personal with me. But she is my councilwoman, and she should hear my concerns. And I hope she's all right back there. Maybe her aide should go check on her. I really hope she's okay. She said 10 minutes, but here we go. The streetscaping project, it should have been on this agenda. And I would like to know why. When we advocated for the streetscaping project, it was not only for aesthetic beauty, it was to alleviate the compromised sidewalks, curbs, and the issues that we have that are deteriorating, severely deteriorating sidewalks that are literally crumbled. So I would like to know why I was told that this was going to be on the calendar.
Commissioner Tooman, is that you guys?
No, it's not.
Okay. Is it planning and economic development? If you could meet with Ms. Jacobs right after she's done, okay?
I hope I get an answer today.
She's more than happy to give you the answer that you need.
I would hope so. Thank you. Code enforcement, where do I begin? We have 615 Uniondale Avenue, AKA church property. There appears to have been some sort of random construction going on at that site with partially new windows installed. And I would like to know, is there a permit on file with the town of Hempstead? Because the structure is severely dilapidated and this house has stood vacant for almost 10 years now.
Well, I'll ask Commissioner Rockham. I wouldn't expect him to know off the top of his head if
Is no one here to, is somebody here?
Commissioner, you don't know off the top of your head, right?
The resolution was set upstairs. We're still waiting on it to be.
Okay.
Again, I want to put on public record that this is a church property and I could care less whether it's a church property because they're abusing the system as well. And it's a blight for the neighborhood. Another issue, 321 California Avenue. I first brought this to the attention of the code enforcement buildings on July 22nd. We had some back and forth correspondence going back. In the last issue that, the last email I received, the correspondence I received was on August 6th. Okay, so now we're in November, but I sent it a complaint informing the building department that 321 California Avenue property is overgrown with trees and bushes, and the house appears to be in some sort of neglect and severely neglect, and the yard is overrun with raccoon and possums. And the neighbors' yards at night adjacent to this properties are infiltrated with these raccoons and these possums. And we complained about this. I received some sort of correspondence with nothing that was directly eradicating this issue. But however, 2 weeks ago, one of the neighbors that lives in back of this property, she was going in her shed to pick up something, and she was startled by 3 raccoons that she thought was chasing her, and she fell. Okay, and she had just had rotator cuff surgery, and she injured the arm that she had surgery on. Okay, so 321 California Avenue.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Anyone else? I wish you all a very blessed Thanksgiving.
I have not finished. I have one more. I have one more. I waited. And we have one issue with the 7-Eleven, former 7-Eleven building on Front Street, where 3 weeks ago was damaged by the windstorm that came through. And I don't know where code enforcement, are they looking at these things? Okay, a pole was severely compromised leading over this property, and this area is where children meet their school buses in the morning. I myself had to go and call and contact PSE&G, and I had a team, management, outside operations team and project manager meet me at that property. And they have put in a priority complaint to fix that pole, but the structure is still severely compromised.
Okay, I'll share your information with Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. I'm sure we'll continue to work extremely hard for the residents. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Not you, Maria.